ordinance and state law, which restricts the ability to carry a loaded or unsecured weapon within 1,000 feet of a school. The zoning proposed tonight would seek to limit firearm sales to areas outside of a 1,000-foot radius of any school, religious place, and our community spaces delineated in our zoning ordinance. Given the 125-year-old dense layout of our borough commercial districts, we are seeking to create a conditional zone for firearm sales, which means that any prospective gun dealer would have to show the store meets the required conditions of our ordinances to receive approval. To be clear, as Mayor Zinna said, the existing gun dealer on County Road is in existence already and operating. It is located between a triangle of our Malm Elementary School, our Tenafly Middle School, and our Tenafly High School, and unfortunately would not be affected by this proposed 1,000-foot ordinance if passed. This gun dealer is currently under a legal use for the zoned area, has submitted all necessary licensing, and as a new tenant in an already existing building, required no council, board of adjustment, or planning board permissions. Tenafly had no discretion under its existing zoning to prevent or limit this gun dealer from operating within this school zone. It will be up to your New Jersey legislator for new gun laws that might allow municipalities to eliminate the existence of this type of school this type of store within a school zone. But in the meantime, I want to reassure our residents that this council will continue to ensure the safety and welfare of our community. I turn to my fellow council and our borough attorney, Wendy, for comment.
So, as the council president just indicated, there was no discretion and there was no process by which the retail store, which is located in the zone that allows for retail use, needed any approvals. So in an effort to close the gap between what the Safe School Gun Zone Act provides with a 1,000-foot buffer, but has this huge loophole that would allow for retail firearm sales, what is being proposed to the council for introduction tonight would be an ordinance that instead of having it just as a retail use as of right, it's as of right if certain conditions can be met. And in the ordinance, those conditions would require regular conditions of licensing and approvals from the state for that licensing. But as to the zoning portion of it, it would still be within the retail zones. However, it would need to be not within a 1,000-foot radius of those types of buildings that the council president just described. So, or open spaces that are municipally owned. Quite a short ordinance, but essentially under a conditional use, there is a need to go to the planning board. And if it's a variance from a conditional use, there would be a need to go to the zoning board. So it's not saying no altogether, that store that is in existence would be a grandfathered use, but it certainly wouldn't pass under the radar.
Questions from the council? Thank you. Questions from council members? Oh, sorry.
First of all, thank you very much for drawing this up and the research in this. So my only question really deals with section 4 of the proposal. The planning board shall within 35 days after referral provide a report to council. So we're passing an ordinance, but something has to go to the planning board. I'm trying to just get a better sense of how the timing works and the function of the ordinance versus the recommendation of the planning board.
So section 4, the zoning ordinance itself for consistency with master. So that happens before you would adopt on second reading. That is something that normally happens with all zoning ordinances. Get a consistency determination from the planning board. That is not something that has to happen within the process of having an application for conditional use. It's only for adoption of this ordinance.
So we would normally have a second reading of an ordinance 2 weeks or whatever after the first reading, but
Correct.
This is 35 days. So
That's the statutory maximum that is given after which no answer given.
All right, so what does that mean as far as the next meeting? That's less than the 35 days. If we don't have something back, does that mean we can't have the second week? I guess that's really my bottom line question.
Right, so this will get referred to the planning board, and at their next meeting, hopefully they'll consider it and send back the consistency determination.
When is the next planning?
A week from Wednesday. Week from tomorrow, 8 days.
So there is time for the planning board to consider this before the next meeting. The 35 days is what is the statutory requirement, maximum time. Nothing prohibiting the planning board from providing that determination.
All right, thank you.
Question?
I'd like to read some of the ordinance out, just so we can inform the public what it says.
Sure, read some of it. Go ahead if you want to. Should we, or?
Well, normally I would recommend that if wait until introduction, but, just putting it out there that this is just a draft of an ordinance. This is not introduced yet. If tonight the council does not introduce it, this ordinance would not have any meaning. So we want to wait until perhaps if it's introduced, read it out.
Let's do that, Quinn.
Yeah, let's do that.
Thanks,
Council
Quinn.
members, yes. Councilor O'Connor.
I do just want to again echo Councilman Grossman saying, thank you, Wendy, for this ordinance. And, to all of us, obviously, we're trying everything we can to be as responsive to the public because this was an area of concern that obviously came to light, surprised all of us. So I just wanted to point out that we're addressing it the best way we can moving forward. Thanks for the work.
Mayor, if I may, I just want to point out that the council president really took the lead on the first draft of this, so I'd be remiss to take credit without mentioning her work.
Okay, thank goodness Wendy tweaked it. Made it legal.
Thank you, Councilman.
Any other questions? All right. All right, so we'll move on to the Tenafly Railroad Station.
Mayor,
Yes.
with permission, I was wondering if we possibly could have public comment on that issue now? If we
Council want to do that now?
keep it in discussion?
Council okay with that?
Do we have,
We have
We
public
have public
comment.
comment in about
Well,
5
we have to go
minutes.
through the administrator's report in the railroad station. But we can do public comment.
because we already have 2 public comments.
We have it in the work session here, then we have public comment during the public meeting.
The people have. I'm all for comment.
I just try, on a topic like this where I know many, many mom families have come up to me directly, expressing various viewpoints, just because we're in discussion and later during the ordinance passage phase, we have very little public comment time until
Well-
after, I would like to
Yeah,
hear
there's-
from our
there's
public.
comment in about 10 minutes.
Yeah,
if
so why don't we
everything goes
wait,
well.
because then we're gonna have 3 public comment sections, and I don't want to cut people off who've already
Okay.
moving topics around. It'll be quick. Okay, so let's talk about the Tenafly Railroad Station, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. In 2019, the borough was awarded a grant through the county for a matching grant of $35,000 for a $70,000 project for the railroad station. And we, at the time, an RFQ was sent out to retain a historic architect. None was awarded. And then when this was brought to my attention, I spoke with the architect that we intended to, or that was intended to be awarded the contract for this project, and had stated that the estimated construction costs for this project would be roughly $150,000. And then also with their fees, the architect's professional fees, about $15,000. So for a total of $165,000, exceeding well over the, what was estimated and what was really budgeted and expected for this project. So really just want to see the council's, and thank you to the CFO, Susan, for really diving into this and providing the memo. Really 2 options. We could limit the, revise the scope of services to fit within the budget of $70,000. If we do so, even though it's doing less work, we still have to revise the scope, send it to the county, and inform them, and they would have to approve it to fit within the budget, that if we wanted to leave it at the same $70,000, or if we wanted to appropriate more funds to do all the three big tasks, scope of work, we would be looking at about $95,000. And potentially of that $95,000, $50,000 through the lease at the railroad station could be used for that. So just seeking the council's advice on how they would like to proceed with this project.
So just for clarification purposes, the original budget for this project was $70,000 back in 2019, correct?
Yeah, it was, yes, correct.
After that, we would have received from a matching grant from the county, the other 35,000 the borough would have paid for.
Correct.
Go ahead, Councilman, go ahead.
So my recommendation, these are good examples that we tend to be successful at getting these grants. I don't know if, I look through, there's a whole bunch of internal things and external things. I wonder if we can do a $70,000 project and then tomorrow find a grant for the next $95,000. And even if you get half that, it's successful. So that'd be my recommendation. I'd break it into two, take a $70,000 deal and then apply for a grant for $95,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, having lived through this one on the HPC, I thank you, Councilman. That was what I was going to also recommend, is that we not use up the 50,000 escrow now, because we don't know, as we learned from the storm a little more than a month ago, we don't know what's right down the river, or street, I mean. And so let's see what we can use this for. And then next year, we should be able to go for another grant and see how we do.
Whatever we could do, I was terribly, I was surprised by all the internal stuff, right? I am at fault. I thought it was all about fixing the top and the roof. All the stuff around, all the electrical stuff was borderline embarrassing that, I don't know how, so let's take a learning from this. And I don't know if once a year I'm making this up, like someone from the borough goes in there and makes sure, these are really parents things.
So, Jeff, do you know the last time the borough made a material? So, maintenance repair issue, renovation, this scale to the.
Of this scale, no. We did some roof repairs that were necessary a couple of years ago. But of this scale, no. And one of the concerns that the HPC had, this building is a very miniature version of the church that burned in Englewood and Notre Dame. It's a stone building with an entirely wooden frame structure inside. So if this goes, it would be really very similar. I went to the attic, and this is why you don't see it. Up in the attic, there's a lot of stuff stored up there, which is fine. That's the tenant's right. And there's a lot of electric wires all over the place. It's just unbelievable. And the electrician going up there. So one thing's needed is the electric. The other is the roof. So I think my sense, and Jimmy, correct me if I'm wrong, but we are able to prioritize.
Yeah, it's the electrical was the priority.
Yeah. There's a real priority there. And then ultimately, if we're adding to do this right, there are some new high-tech sprinkler fire suppression systems that are designed to protect those kind of buildings. But again, money is the issue. So this, we have not put in, it is time, unfortunately, somewhere along the way, the council, but by getting grants and leveraging it, I think that's the right way to do it. And we can use some of the escrow money.
So is the totality of the 70,000, not the electrical issues there?
It should be, yes.
Was the council in agreement that?
Yes.
Yes.
In general sense?
Just a question.
Go ahead.
There's the roof, which there's the leaking from the roof, but that there also seemed to be a structural issue created because of that. Is electrical actually more important than the?
I believe, wasn't the discussion that some of the roof, the immediate concerns could be addressed with the 70,000, the electric and some of the roof?
Potentially, but yeah, potentially. There's something we could go back to and speak with the architect, and now that we have the idea of staying within the budget, and then we could figure from there if we need to revise the scope or and send it to the county, or work within that, but still narrow down the overall, maybe the initial thought of the scope of the roofing work.
So it'll be a
But
hybrid.
yes, Councilman, the roof and the electric were kind of both high priority. It's the other work that's just gonna have to wait.
Right, I mean, because just from reading it, it seemed like there was a structural question, you know, if the roof wasn't, you know, it could over time cause damage that way.
While we're on this topic, for the next 95, can you put it for the next round of the county grant?
Of course.
This is another question. Are there fire
Yeah,
fire
yeah.
inspection, anything fall under that, fire inspection grants?
I could look into that.
Yeah. I don't know the answer.
I don't know either. I mean, this might be a very good project.
And one of the another big question, Jeff, another big question is current cost of that 150, the original estimate, 70.
Right.
That's a question we get into a couple of years ago. Is it just time and how time it took to do the grants, put it all together, but why are the costs so different now than they were when they originally estimated?
I want to say that the estimates were not done originally by someone who's a historic architect who specializes.
So that's the question.
That was why it was important to have the request for proposal and get someone in there who had a much better sense.
And also just a little bit of piece, the original amount requested was 50,000 for a $100,000 match or total project fund. It was granted about 35. So reduced to 70,000 total project.
What else?
Switching to my report, if there's any questions, I would like to highlight a couple items in addition, but if there's any questions, we have to address them.
Specific question.
Yeah.
The vacant property ordinance, you know, I would like it included in here.
Okay.
Oh, in the future,
Yes, and I think it was going to be, you know, we had discussed this a couple of years when it was passed, that it was going to be in the building department report, but I think we should do it by name of property, or, so we are aware of what's vacant. So when people say to us as council people, hey, we're interested in coming on, we could say, we have a property on Railroad, or we have a property on County.
Just a couple high-level items. Hudson Ave is repaved, milled and paved, striping to be done soon, so that's reopened, no closures, no detours. Hydro raking was also completed, all the trails were put back, looks great. Couple other projects, the library facade, the bids came back for that project to do the facade and also the roof. The pricing that came back for the roof highly exceeded what was budgeted for. And so we're not going to go forward with the roof at this point in time, or not recommend to go with the roof at this point in time. But for the facade, the bids came back about $40,000 above what was estimated. Looking back through previous capital projects and remaining funds, we are able to reappropriate funds from previous completed projects to make up the difference if we wish to move forward with that project. So about $40,000. Again, that's would be reappropriated from previous capital projects that have been completed.
And what was the difference on the roof?
That was estimated, I believe, about almost 200,000. The bid came back at 750,000. That was the lowest, yeah.
We understand why the
Yeah.
200,000 was initially, you know, where did they go wrong?
A lot of it has to do with material costs in the current.
Yeah, but they didn't know what the material costs were a year ago.
well, so we can get details on that, but material costs in the construction industry
Have gone up. I mean,
skyrocketed
but
in the past 12 months. Go ahead. Councilman, you have,
What we should do, and God knows I'm not gonna know where the high and low is. Everything is just egregiously expensive right now. You know, every day that goes by, I personally believe it's opinion. Eventually, it's gonna start to tail off. Right now, it's just crazy. So if there is something that we can, you know, this could wait, I'm making up a number, 3 months, 6 months. You know, everyone's saying that this is gonna last through Q1 of 22. That's what the Fed is saying right now. But let's not buy on a high, if it's not critical.
It also goes to the issue of when, who capital budgets that we're doing,
Should move on it.
move on. And get it.
Absolutely.
Costs never go down. While this may be an anomaly, as a general rule, costs never go
Agreed.
down. The faster we get things done,
Yeah.
the more closer it's going to be to the original estimated cost. Okay, go
So,
ahead.
yeah, so we'll be looking to provide that recommendation at the next mayor and council meeting for consideration. Roosevelt Monument Project, we've requested from the county an extension on this grant. They have responded today that the historic county level group has tabled their decision, so they have not extended the project for us, which was already extended, which currently expires, project has to be completed by December 31st of this year. We've gone out to bid twice. No bids were submitted. We've contacted several electrical firms and contractors, and two proposals were submitted. This was estimated about at maybe $80,000. The two estimates, one came at $105,000 and the other came at $141,000. So at this point, we're still asking electrical vendors and contractors to submit their letter of interest or proposal. That would be in line with the budget or a little bit closer to the budget. And we await word from the county for a potential extension. With the close out of the grant.
Yeah. Question on that. So I know Bob Carpenter, and for the public, Bob Carpenter is a stonemason who did work to help restore the monument. So the part we're talking about right now is lighting. If we don't get the lighting, but Bob's done his work, do we still get half of that
Yes.
back from the county? I mean, the county won't say, well, you didn't do everything, so zero?
Correct. We're submitting it for his fees for reimbursement, correct?
Okay, because that was a very critical part of restoring the monument.
Yeah. That's being submitted, correct?
Thank you.
So I just want to take a second to thank Jimmy Homsey and our council and mayor and council and everyone who has facilitated the Fister's Pond completion. I want to recognize how amazing it is that in the 60th anniversary of our nature center, we were able to budget, use open space, and execute on this project. It was 5 or 6 years in the making. It was significant debate at this table. What I think the result is a fantastic and revitalized community space. I encourage all of our residents to go down and see the beauty of it. I know Councilman Grossman was showing me some pictures. It is truly a beautiful space for our residents and our community for many years to come. And it had a lot of moving pieces, and I want to thank our BA profusely for coordinating and facilitating all of them.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Just one last item, Mayor. At the last council meeting, authorization was given to purchase or to move forward with Ben Schaefer Recreation to fill the Tenafly pool with stone as a capital project. We were able to, after more careful review of their proposal, it's not in line with the pricing through the state, through the county co-op, or not the county, but the co-op they're participating in. So we're unable to tie the pricing back to the co-op. So we're unable to move at this point to move forward with them for this project. So we're still going to continue to search vendors, but we're anticipating we're going to more than likely have a resolution to rescind the authorization or to move forward with Ben Schaefer for that project.
So we'll
So
have that resolution at the next council.
it'll be at an upcoming council meeting, correct, to rescind that resolution. And that's it.
Jimmy, I see as part of your report, we have an HR memo as well.
Yes, correct.
Alicia, if you wouldn't mind, I have some questions on it. Okay, you're welcome to come up. You're welcome to stay here. We can hear you. So we're talking about the employee manual, and thank you for all the work on that. It's been something we, as a borough and council, have been looking to update. And I see you recommend the GIF manual, or the GIF model, excuse me. So does that mean you would take sort of it verbatim, or are we writing our own? I was a little unsure of how that was going to go. Do you know if our current policies, do you know the differences essentially between, I mean, I assume we're up to date on state and federal laws and in compliance, but we have a lot of nuance, I think, in our existing union contracts and employee handbook right now. Are, yeah, I know, but I think there's a lot of discrepancy throughout. Right. Okay, that's good to know. You know, again, I want to thank you for that work because this is something we need to do here within the borough for our employees.
We couldn't hear what Alicia was saying.
Is that they can't hear. I said, this is something we wanted to do to ensure and update our policies for our employees.
Okay, any other comments? Oh,
Just really quick, you know, sometimes, you know, we get these reports, like the building report, and it has some useful information such as page 8 of the report shows that there's an application for a tattoo shop on Hillside Avenue. You know, so some of the information that we get, like, you know, like the gun shop, et cetera, you know, other do show up here and we just don't see it. So just letting people know that there's information that we don't get, we don't necessarily monitor.
Yes, Madam.
So it's interesting. I'll follow Councilman Menon. So I had a similar issue, but let me make some recommendations if the council agrees. So the first thing is, we do have this information. If I understand it correctly, we get these approved permits. Back in July, we did receive the permit for the gun shop. It actually just says new tenant. So very specifically, I'm all about, you know, let's be specific. If we could ask with Jimmy's permission, when these get filled out by the buildings department, instead of just saying new tenant, for residents, I know exactly what every resident is doing, changing their patio, driveway, generator, repaving driveway, AC condenser. That's important that I know that. So new tenant is not enough. So if we could just ask the buildings department, put in what the objective is. Like Councilman Menon said, we have a tattoo parlor coming. The second, so that's very specific. Second thing is, you know, we have a whole bunch of lawyers here, so I'll get it wrong, but I think, you know, Justice Potter said,
You don't want
there you go. I think Justice Potter said, you know, I don't know what it is, but I know it when I see it.
to.
If we could ask the buildings department, if, you know,
Could probably simply expand the spreadsheet.
right, if they know that this is something that is probably, you know, if I know it when I see it, if we could ask them to bring that to the mayor's and Jimmy's attention in advance, I think that would help us.
Additional usage.
Whatever allows, again, this is,
So that's-
remember that the council's like, you know, the board of directors, we shouldn't be in the day-to-day business. That's why I specifically asked Jimmy. Jimmy knows it, you know, let's trust our leaders and everyone's doing great. So that'd be my second thing. And then the third thing is, it's a good reminder that when we're not proactive, right? And I'm very appreciative of this council. We're doing the downtown revitalization. The faster and more proactive we become a council of yes. That will allow us not as much to have to deal with the things that we don't want coming into town. So I hope it's a good reminder to me that I want to be pushing faster on some of these things, so we don't have to say the no's all the time. So if that works for Jimmy, I'd love those 3 things that we could do.
May I
Go
quickly?
ahead.
To Councilman Michael's point, not an issue to add. I can't imagine that would be an issue I'll discuss with the building department. And then to your second point, there has already been discussions with the building department and the zoning officer to notify me and, you know, and then myself through the mayor aware if, you know, some of these types of certain businesses or changes or requests come across the desk to be notified prior to approval. So we would discuss internally, then, bring it to the council.
And I don't know if it's, and this is an ask, I don't know if this is right, but if we see what's coming up or what is, new, even that maybe is just too late, but I don't know how we can become, again, just more proactive. If we know something's coming up, honestly, I don't know who we're gonna talk to, but I'm sure we, I don't know, something that we could be a little more proactive.
So I like the idea of the proactive.
I don't know what it is, but
The balancing act, and I've seen this in at least one other town in Bergen County, they actually go too far. They require whenever a new owner comes in, they have to go before one of their boards.
yeah.
So if you're going, for example, TPR just changed ownership, even though it's the same business, they have to go and register that we are reopening a new pizza shop type thing.
Right.
And so it's a tough balancing act because we're already accused by some people of being business unfriendly. And the more you put on these asks.
Absolutely agree, yeah.
So I don't know the answer. I do think we're more business friendly than most people give us credit for. I think if you ask anybody about a town, they're going to say the same thing, oh, they're business unfriendly. But I like the idea, it's the balance.
We're getting tacos, that's not unfriendly. So actually, this was something made before both Jimmy and Omar, and I had been requesting this ages ago. The building department information needs to actually be inputted the opposite direction because it's always please. And I've been making that request actually nitty gritty for years.
How about the buildings?
The building is always
So
to,
all you do is just hit the button up top here that says rotate 90 degrees.
that's technology, I don't know. But
I know a guy that knows the guy. Yeah.
But just to go back to Adam's point about the July application, because I've reviewed it in the building department. In the July application, while it did say new tenant, it then also had a description of what the store was and what was filed to get the certificate of occupancy. And I don't want to get this wrong, so I'm going to read it. If you guys just give me the leeway to find it for a second. Was that in this application, they gave a description very, very clearly that said to be used as a sporting goods store, firearms, ammunition, and wholesale retail and e-commerce business. All sales will be by appointment or conducted online over the phone. And so we have a detailed description here. It never went past that application. There was no process in which the building department had to convey it to anybody else. This was just to get a CO in which he had no discretion to deny it unless there was an actual issue with the building. It was a change in tenancy, so it didn't go before any board or planning, and it didn't come for us. And so again, while we have things in place that might have shown us what was coming, we didn't have a process here that facilitated information. Jimmy, I know we've spoken about this. I'm not sure how to fix this, but I know you're going to address it. Of course.
Get the public comment quickly, so if everyone's done, let's move on to public comment. Okay. Audience.
Can I ask a
members wishing
specific
to speak,
question
We'll have 3
before we
minutes.
proceed?
We'll have a 3-minute time period. Please limit to address the governing body on items on the committee of the whole agenda. Large groups are asked to have a spokesperson represent them. If you'd like to speak, please state your name and your address. So we'll start with members of the public who are here in the room here. Please come up to the microphone, state your name, and go ahead.
Hi, I'm Christine Chun, and I live at 278 Hudson Avenue. I am in the mom community, and I am one of the mom co-presidents. As a mom co-president, I truly want to thank the town council, especially Lauren Dayton, the mayor, and all of you, but for your just work on this issue. Many of the mom families have expressed to us their great concern over the proximity of the gun store to our playground, which faces County Road, and we communicated that to you. And it is great news to hear that the owners are willing to move their location, so we really welcome that, that you shared with us tonight. And even though people are aware that the store has the highest form of security, which you've shared with us, I think many of the parents were concerned about the closeness to our school, and many do support the introduction of the ordinances like the one that is being proposed that will protect our kids. Ideally, these ordinances will impact this store location and in addition, prevent anything like this occurring in the future, we hope. So again, we just are very thankful for the news that you shared with us tonight, and just thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else from here like to speak that's in the council chambers? Okay, Omar, let's open it up to public comment from anyone who's on the, what are we doing, WebEx or Zoom?
WebEx.
WebEx call tonight, please.
Mark, can you make them a single speaker just so we could see them? It's very far away. So. I know, I can't see them. Any glasses?
Anyone looking, does anyone have a hand raised, Omar?
Christine Evron. Can you
Christine
hear me?
Everon?
Yes.
Go ahead, state your name, please. Your address, please, Christine.
Christine Evron, 39 Leroy Street, Chamber of Commerce President. I would like to say that this is something that gives us, our town, a reputation for being hard on business. We have a lot of people. I can't imagine a business setting up here without knowing that there are a lot of potential clients in the community. This is a convenience for a lot of the gun owners. You can check with the police exactly how many we have, but it's a lot. I can't see that a very discreet store, no matter how close to the elementary school, is really a danger to the elementary school. If someone were bent on harm, they really can get bullets fairly close by. I don't think this helps the reputation of our town from a business point of view. Thank you.
Okay, Omar. Next, are there other speakers who look to speak there? Who are looking to speak?
Yes, Shlomi from 108 Prospect Terrace.
Is there someone speaking?
Yes.
Go ahead, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Oh,
Sorry to
great.
interrupt you.
No problem. My name is Shlomi. I live in 108 Prospect Terrace here in Tenafly. So I have a question. I know that a gun store should be located like 1,000 feet from a school. Like, this one doesn't seem to be, wasn't right? Am I wrong? I know that we have a lot of lawyers, so you can keep me honest here.
So there is state law against carrying a loaded or an unsecured weapon within 1,000 feet of a school, but it is not the state law that you cannot have a retail gun store within 1,000 feet of a school.
Okay. All right. So I'm stand corrected. So basically that was my main question, to make sure you're aware of it and to see if there's anything we can do in the future to prevent that. And for what it's worth, I completely disagree. And I think I represent a lot of families with kids around here. We're not against gun stores at large, but just this particular location and the fact that it was done kind of secretly without consulting the community first, I think that's kind of what raised the level of concerns and dismay, and we hope that in the future we can refrain from that.
Okay, thank you. Omar?
I see no hands, Mayor.
Pardon me?
I see no hands, Mayor.
No hands? Is everyone muted or unmuted? I don't want to miss anyone tonight. Go ahead. So I'm just going to, one more time, please, if anyone wants to speak, you're welcome to speak now. Borough Clerk is just checking to make sure we're not missing anyone.
And the good news is we have public comments.
We have second public comments tonight for anyone we missed. That's correct. Thank you, Councilman.
Can I just say, as a member of the mom community, I want to thank my HSA presidents for being here. As a mom family, I appreciate seeing you here.
Okay, so we'll close public comment for now. There'll be public comment again later on during the public meeting. All right,
Mayor?
excuse me?
Could we, there was something that the HSA president said that was kind of a misunderstanding of, I think, what you had said. We don't have, they didn't agree to move. You're having a conversation with the store about potentially moving.
Oh, so, right, okay, so the councilman's asking about the clarification of my discussions with the store owners. So we're happy, the store owners and I have had conversations where they have said, you know, they would be willing to move the store, and there's a lot of detail, you know, move it away from the school to another location, okay? They would absolutely consider that, and there is, technical word, a boatload of details to get worked out to make that happen. You know, so it's a step in the right direction, but I don't want anyone to think, and thank you, Vanu, I don't want anyone to think it's a done deal, but it's a step in the right direction, and so I'm very optimistic about that. Thank you, Vanu. Okay. All right, so we're gonna move on to the resolutions now. And anyone have any questions about the resolutions they would like to raise?
Yes, I do, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
A point on the body cameras, fees. I just want to point out, from what I'm understanding, that's like, it's the law, right? That the police, because it said like, according to their BCPO memo, they have to have body cameras, right? I just thought that
No, so I think that she's asking a question
yes,
about the
that's
law.
correct. Okay, so we're just complying with the law. Correct. Okay.
Any other questions about the resolutions? Yes, Councilwoman Dayton.
I want to again thank Alicia for the, sorry, I'm losing the title, the harassment policy here. Thank you for the work on that. Thank you for introducing it to our council, and hopefully we'll pass it tonight. Well, thank you, Ruby, as well then.
You know, I have, just to follow up on Councilwoman Dayton's comments, I am so very happy that we have a director of human resources in the borough. So thank you for everything you do. You have no idea. Thank you. Okay, so for the good of the order, meeting room safety, Councilwoman Dayton.
This is for the,
Any questions?
Does anyone have any questions about the minutes to be approved October 5th, 2021? Comments? Okay. All right, so for the good of the order, meeting room safety, Councilwoman Dayton, please.
this is really the Wilson room that we meet in during closed. I would just like to propose some sort of logical COVID protections or spacing when we meet in the Wilson room, and we could discuss this offline, obviously, but that's what's in that discussion.
So
I
perhaps.
didn't realize it was making it on the agenda, but yeah.
The offline discussion should not be amongst the council members, but for the administrator, Jimmy, to have that, to think about what might work there and come back with some suggestions if necessary.
Sounds good.
Yep. Okay, so could I get a motion to adjourn to the regular meeting, please?
So moved.
A second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Right.
Okay, so we're gonna go right into public meeting. Okay, Omar, are we ready?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, PL 1975, Chapter 231, the notice requirements have been satisfied. Meeting dates for the year are confirmed at the annual meeting, are posted in the public bulletin board in the lobby of the municipal center, and published in the record within the first 10 days of the new year. Salute to the flag. United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please. Omar.
Councilmember Dayton. Councilmember Grossman.
Here.
Councilmember Menon.
Here.
Councilmember Michaels.
Present.
Councilmember Dr. O'Connor. Councilmember Park. Mayor Zena.
Here. Minutes to be approved. Can I get a motion, please, or
So moved.
second?
Second.
Roll call, Omar?
Voice vote.
Voice vote, sorry. I'm never gonna get that right.
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. Are there any revisions to the agenda, Counselor? Okay. All right, now we are in the public comment period time. Audience members wishing to speak will have a 3-minute time limit to address the governing body. Large groups are asked to have a spokesperson represent them. This is public comment for any topic that you would like to speak about. Is there any member of the public here that would like to speak? No? Okay, how about on WebEx? Omar?
I have a hand raised by Catherine.
Catherine, please go ahead. Your name and your address, please.
Catherine Carlberg, 63 Ivy Lane. And I just wanted to ask about the process on Ivy Lane. People have just been flying by and trucks are using it more. And I think it's a county road, so I don't know the process, but I wanted to know if maybe we could possibly get a sign that gives your speed, because Sunnyside is there. And when the kids are playing on the weekend soccer and in the spring softball, people are still flying by, and it seems to be getting worse. So I just wanted to know if the town can't do anything about it, because it's a county road, then what would be the next step? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So you're asking about what can we do to reduce the speed of cars on your road on Ivy Lane, correct?
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
so
getting worse.
Okay, so that is a regular request we get, and I'm going to ask the borough administrator to explain the process and what we actually do to help resolve those issues.
Yeah, so in short, despite that it's a county road, we still enforce the traffic violations there and any of these types of concerns. So I will speak with the police chief. They will internally put their own controls and measures and keep track. And if they deem necessary to put any type of signage, they would do so. So I would speak directly with the police chief, our police chief, and to keep an eye and through their traffic bureau to make recommendations and to do so if appropriate.
And by speaking with the police chief, I mean, you're going to speak to the police chief.
Correct, yeah, I would, yep.
And we also, Catherine, so that you know, we have some mobile, you've seen them out there in the roads, the speed control signs and the warning signs. We move those around town regularly in response to, spikes in speed in particular areas. So the chief will look at that also. Thank you for raising that issue.
Thank you.
Any other members of the public would like to comment? I see a hand up.
Mayor, Peter Russell from Woodland Street.
Mayor, how are you doing this evening?
It's a beautiful night here in Tenafly. A couple of meetings ago, I suggested getting 2 parking spaces back by the movie theater. Has there been any talk about that?
The question is about the movie theater?
Yeah, there's 2
Spaces that are
spaces.
barriered off, you wanted them back.
Oh, okay. We can't hear so well through this system. Okay, so they talk about the parking spaces with the yellow stripes.
Yeah, it's not,
Was
it's
it
not,
the,
Right, because the theater is not being used as a theater and there's the yellow stripe parking spots there. So in other words, why should we keep them as the yellow stripes, no parking for the theater? If the theater is not operating, we should remove those stripes and add two or 3 parking spots, whatever it is.
Wasn't that for emergency response though, just downtown? Didn't we ask about?
No, it was
For the theater.
that was for the theater. Yeah, and there's a crosswalk issue there too that we have to look at.
So Mayor, we actually reached out to the chief and I to look into it. and
Right.
We just need to coordinate. to
Okay.
figure out how to do it.
well,
Okay.
the crosswalk is in the middle of the block, and I believe the police chief has said more than once that that's not ideal. Now, the crosswalk was probably put there for the theater.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
so the chief and I are looking into it, Mayor.
Thank you.
Mayor and Mayor.
It's all good. It's all good.
Once the mayor, always.
Any other questions? No? Okay. Anyone else? Omar?
I see no other hands, Mayor.
No other hands? Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone, for making comments. Okay. Consent agenda. Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
All right, roll call, please.
Councilmember Dayton? Councilmember Grossman?
Yes.
Councilmember Menon?
Yes.
Councilmember Michaels?
Yes.
Councilmember Dr. O'Connor? Councilmember Park?
Yes.
Okay, thank you on that, everyone. We have committee reports next. Councilman Park, why don't we start with you this evening?
Nothing to report. I didn't have any meetings.
Okay, Councilman Grossman, please.
The HPC met and there was discussion, continuing discussion about naming something in honor of Elizabeth Cady Stanton. They're working on, I'm trying to finalize that. Also, really exciting, they're coming up on the end of a long project of writing a walking tour of Elizabeth Cady Stanton and the entire 100th anniversary of women's rights to vote. I know that was last year, but due to COVID, better late than never. And the walking tour is really awesome. And when they do release it, it is going to be something, first of all, in a small book form. They are going to actually get an ISBN number so they can bring it to libraries. They're talking about how to distribute it to residents. And I would encourage everybody to take this tour so that they can learn just the tremendous historic value of our town. So that was HPC. I also had a conflict, but I did want to report that the Stigma-Free Committee did hold an event with Lauren Brill last Wednesday, which I understand was very good. She is a phenomenal speaker, and those are my reports this time.
Council President Dayton.
I'm going to start with the Tenafly Nature Center. Again, the Nature Center is very thankful and appreciative of all the efforts on the Fister's Pond project. They are also appreciative that our paving has extended and we actually paved their parking lot, if anyone didn't realize that we did approve that, and they are enormously thankful for that renovation. A couple very cute things. We have 2 new owls that arrived. We have a screech owl and a barn owl. And it turns out, which my family is just loving, that our barn owl is attracting another barn owl in nature who keeps coming to visit. So I thought that was adorable. So my kids and I, we're going to go visit our new owls. There is a warning. We definitely have spotted lanternflies, of course, here in New Jersey and now in Tenafly. So for those residents who recognize the black and white spotted bugs with red, please, as the campaign says, squish them. As far as the Tenafly Nature Center goes, we have a staffing shortage right now, and they're looking to hire. We did hire another employee from Virginia, and we do have 3 new board members. And I'm very thankful for their volunteer work. And of course, I don't have all of their names and last names written down, so my apologies, but welcome. Oh, here we go, Tenafly Nature Center Board. I went to read them out. The new board members will be the president, Peter Emmy, vice president, Emily Yang, vice president, Susan Golden, treasurer, Bruce Balsam, secretary, Hayok Lee, member at large, Andrew McKesh, and our new trustees are Marilyn Friedberg, Jake Pollock, Ellen Rowe, Rita Roden, John Rustin, Wendy Thompson, and Nini Wong. And I thank them all for their volunteer work. It is not a small thing to run our nature center and fundraise for it. And I want to remind everyone that we do have trail cams now. And so to please respect our natural space. So that's the Nature Center. The Welcoming Committee met and they need to actually work on their website with Omar, which we've discussed already. They did bring up a point that when they ask new residents to sign up for Code Red, it doesn't differentiate between Code Red and the mayor's message. And so they're not sure. Some of them are signing up for Code Red to get emergency response for business. But then every Friday, every single business line in the whole office is lighting up with the mayor's message. So maybe we need to work on differentiating that.
Okay, so we'll look at that.
Yes.
Sorry, just for clarity, they want the mayor's message every day, ideally?
Exactly. Exactly. At each business line that they register.
We will look at that, for sure.
Yes. As everyone knows, our welcoming event for our new residents in September did not go forward, but we are still planning for our May firehouse tours For any new resident who needs assistance, please come to our borough or a welcoming committee and reach out. The senior services met, and we are actually moving along with a really nice project pitched by So Young Pak. And this is closing the gap. It is taking our senior community and our senior students and trying to pair them up. We have now approached the Board of Ed, who has given us the go-ahead to meet with Principal Morrison and establish a program with the school students to give back to our community. Things like snow removal, leaf breaking, small errands, even just spending time. So we are moving ahead with that project. It looks good. Our Pride Committee had a fantastic event for National Coming Out Day, if I'm saying that correctly. And we brought in, I'm gonna mess this up. I want to say Lady Harmonica. We had Drag Queen Story Hour at the library, which was attended by children, and she read books and did art projects. It's an amazing thing that we do. Our library is incredibly supportive, and our Pride Committee was happy to bring that here to our community. They're looking to do more events like this for outreach. And our DPW met. We had a DPW meeting. I think Jimmy covered majority, if not all of it. And anything else on the DPW, anybody? Okay, then I'm done.
Councilman Menon, please.
No committee reports.
No reports today? Councilman Michaels?
I'm gonna get it wrong.
Super quick, we had a joint use meeting last week before, talking about shared services, ways to drive efficiencies between the borough and the school board. Had some conversations about food insecurity and some other things we could do there. From a downtown revitalization, we've had 3 focus groups following the public session that we had about 3 weeks back, one on zoning and development, one on accessibility, and one on roads and infrastructure. So just very appreciative of our residents who have been joining those sessions, providing their feedback. We just closed the survey, somewhere around 450 surveys we received, and a whole bunch of ideas on the idea board. Thank you to Omar and Jimmy for facilitating that. And then this coming Friday, we actually have 2 sessions with our students. So we're doing one with the middle school and then a separate one for the high school to get our student feedback for the downtown. So that's what I got.
That's it?
That's it.
Hey, Julie, before you go, I just want to make a correction because I don't want to get this incorrect and insult anybody. This Drag Queen Story Hour was Harmonica Sunbeam, not Lady Harmonica. Very important to get names correct.
Things have to be done correctly.
That is respectful. Okay, thank you.
Councilwoman Dr. O'Connor, please.
Yes, I have an environmental commission meeting coming up on Thursday, but I did just want to tell everyone to please read your town newsletter for a great update on the last page by the Environmental Commission about a way to replace your grass lawn with clover. And because this whole thing about having grass lawn, it can be very damaging to the environment. So just I encourage people to go to their town newsletter with some great tips about that. And also, this is more of a question regarding my report was, there was going to be some cameras by the Rose Garden, and I just wanted to know about that update. I know that where we were leaving that was, the chief was looking into that, and I know that Susan had said there was money allotted for it, so I'm just, passing that along. Where are we at?
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we're going to introduction of the new ordinance. Council President Dayton, would you like to make that motion, please, about the commercial firearm sales?
I would, but I'm logged out. Hold on.
What?
I actually would. Oh, here we go. Sorry.
Haven't you memorized
No,
it?
I definitely do. I said I was logged out for a second.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Again, Councilwoman Dayton, thank you very much for taking it. Thank you. Excellent.
Well, this was an ordinance that I sought to pass a while ago, and we'll put it back up for vote today. I move to introduce and pass on first reading ordinance 2121 and set the hearing for November 9th, 2021 at 8 PM or soon thereafter.
Do I have a second, please? Omar, could you please read the title of the ordinance and conduct a roll call, please?
Ordinance number 21-21, an ordinance amending chapter 35 land development regulations, Article 2 definitions, and Article 8 zoning regulations of the revised general ordinances of the Borough of Tenafly establishing zoning conditions for firearm sales.
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Dayton,
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman,
Yes.
Councilmember Menon,
Yes.
Councilmember Michaels,
Yes.
Councilmember Dr. O'Connor, Councilmember Park.
You'd like to read out some of the ordinance itself? Sure, go ahead, of course.
First of all, I want to thank my fellow council members for the passage of this first reading tonight. I think it's a very necessary response right now and always to have this type of zoning. Ordinance 2121, which our council just passed on first reading, says an ordinance amending chapter 35 land development regulations, Article 2 definitions, and Article 3 of VII zoning, 8 zoning regulations of the revised general ordinances of the Borough of Tenafly, establishing zoning conditions for firearm sales. I'm just going to read some of the whereas clauses. Whereas the Borough of Tenafly regulates zoning within the municipality, creating zoning districts, regulations, and enforcement. And whereas the Borough of Tenafly seeks to provide specific zoning, conditions, and standards for the location and operation of retail firearm sales. And whereas the borough acknowledges that the United States Constitution, Second Amendment, and the New Jersey Constitution enumerates the right to bear arms, but also recognizes the need to safeguard the public good and preserve the health, safety, and welfare of residents that are left exposed to undue risks and danger if retail firearm sales were permitted to operate without appropriate zoning conditions. Now therefore be it ordained by the mayor and council of the Borough of Tenafly, I'm going to skip forward, that this ordinance is passed.
Thank you. Mayor's remarks, the only mayor's remarks I'm going to make is to announce to the public again that we've, this Thursday, day after tomorrow, in Highland Park, there's going to be a hanbok ceremony with a fashion show and a traditional Korean wedding. It starts in Highland Park at about 4 o'clock. The weather is supposed to be beautiful, so everyone in the community, of course, is invited. So hope to see people there.
For the public, whose wedding is it?
For the public, whose wedding is it? My wife and I are renewing our wedding vows.
Full humbug?
Full humbug.
Oh,
They
yeah.
asked us to do it. So of course, we're happy to. Yeah. Thank you, Councilman Michael.
In my 10, right?
Pardon me? And
Mine
that's
too.
right. And Councilwoman O'Connor, she's providing the tent for us to get changed in. It's a whole thing.
Well,
Okay. So
your,
that's-
your newest grandchild will be proud.
Yes, it should be very, 4 o'clock on Thursday. So can I have a motion to go into closed session, please?
So moved.
And a second?
Second,
All in favor?
right, can I
Go
ask?
ahead, you have to read the, go ahead. Oh, then I have to take the vote.
Resolution R20-399 at a regular meeting of Council of the Borough of Tenafly, County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, held on October 19th, 2021. Be it resolved in compliance with NJSA 10:4-12, the mayor and council of the Borough of Tenafly are going into closed executive session to discuss the following matters. There's personnel matters, including the COVID-19 vaccination policy, site supervisor, and the borough administrator evaluations. And under attorney-client privilege matters, potential Volta contract, affordable housing update, and a lease update. Minutes will be taken of the meeting and released to the public at the time that the matter is resolved. And I do not believe any action is anticipated after the closed session.
Now could I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second? Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Going into closed session. Thank you, everyone, to members of the public for attending.